Hey everyone. So, if you're deep in the world of doctoral studies, you know that a dissertation can feel, well, massive. Today we're going to zero in on the one thing that can make or break your entire project, building a rock-solid foundation for your research. Let's dive in.
Does this look familiar? You've got mountains of data, all these incredible ideas, and a library's worth of articles, but it just feels like a big messy pile of bricks. You know there's a beautiful building in there somewhere, but you have no idea how to start putting it together. And without a plan, you're not just messy, you risk creating something that's totally disconnected from the bigger ideas in your field.
And that's where this whole thing clicks into place. I want you to think of yourself as an architect. You're not just stacking bricks randomly, you are designing something with purpose and strength. And every great structure needs a blueprint. For you, the researcher, your theoretical framework is that blueprint. It's what gives your study its shape, its integrity, and its entire reason for being.
Okay, so what does this blueprint actually do? Well, it's way more than just a simple drawing. A really good theoretical review has a few critical jobs to do, jobs that give your research that intellectual weight it needs.
So first off, it grounds your study. It proves you've done your homework by connecting your original idea to the huge ongoing conversations that are already happening in your field. Next, it helps you explain the why. Why are you seeing what you're seeing? And it guides you to ask super sharp, focused research questions. And finally, and this is so important, it gives you a set of powerful analytical lenses. It's like putting on special glasses that let you see patterns and meaning in your data that you would have completely missed otherwise.
Now, as the architect of your study, you've got a choice to make. Are you going to use a classic, time-tested blueprint from the masters, or are you going to design a completely custom one for your unique project? In the world of research, this is really the difference between a theoretical and a conceptual framework. Let's break that down. A theoretical framework is kind of like grabbing a blueprint off the shelf from a world-renowned architect. It's an established, formal theory that's already been tested, debated, and validated by tons of other researchers. You're basically taking this powerful, pre-existing lens and applying it to see your own research problem in a new light.
A conceptual framework, on the other hand, is your own custom design. This is where you, the researcher, get to be creative. You pull together ideas from different theories, maybe mix in a few of your own, and build a unique model that is tailor-made for your specific project. It's your personal map of how all the pieces of your puzzle fit together.
This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? Look, a theoretical framework is born from established, published literature. It's usually pretty abstract, and its whole purpose is to ground your study in a scholarly tradition. But a conceptual framework, that's your baby. You construct it yourself. It's super specific to your study, and its job is to illustrate your unique angle on the problem. So, the key takeaway is this. One is foundational, and the other is totally custom fit.
So, to help you figure out which blueprint is right for you, let's go on a quick tour of 4 major architectural styles in learning theory. These are especially huge if you're in English language studies. Think of these as the grand historic design movements of education. First up, we have the most classical style of all, behaviorism. This theory sees learning as simple habit formation. Stimulus, response, reinforcement. Think Pavlov's dogs. In language teaching, this gave us methods with tons of drills and repetition, designed to hammer in correct language habits. You can even see a little bit of this in apps like Duolingo, right? With its points and rewards for correct answers. But, of course, that classical style couldn't explain everything. The brilliant linguist Noam Chomsky came along and basically said, hold on a minute. He pointed out that we can all say and understand sentences we've never, ever heard before. So language can't just be a collection of memorized habits. It has to be something more creative, more generative. And that critique really blew the doors open for new ways of thinking.
Which brings us to cognitivism, the modernist response. This style dares to look inside the black box of the mind. Learners aren't just passive puppets responding to stimuli, they're active information processors. The mind is kind of like a computer, using these mental filing cabinets called schemas to organize all the new knowledge it gets. This is exactly why activating a student's prior knowledge before they read a text is so effective. You're getting the right files ready. Next up is constructivism. And in this architectural style, guess what? The learner is the architect. Knowledge isn't something you just absorb or process, it's something you actively build. You construct it yourself using your past experiences and your interactions with others as the raw materials. Think about how a team collaborates on a Google Doc to build a proposal from scratch.
That's pure constructivism, and it's the whole idea behind things like project-based learning.
So, one of the coolest tools in the Constructivist toolkit is something called scaffolding, an idea from the great psychologist Vygotsky. Just like the temporary supports on a building under construction, a teacher provides support right where the learner needs it most. This sweet spot is what Vygotsky called the zone of proximal development. Then, as the learner gets stronger and more confident, you gradually take that support away until they can stand on their own.
And this idea of social learning leads us right into our final style, sociocultural theory. This takes constructivism even further. It argues that all learning, all of it, is fundamentally a social process. Our minds develop because we participate in activities with other people using cultural tools, especially language. Think of how developers solve problems on Stack Overflow or how professionals share knowledge in a Slack channel. The learning isn't just in one person's head, it's built and shared across the entire community.
Okay, so we've toured the grand architectural styles. Now for the really important part. How do you actually choose and use one of these for your own research project? Let's see how these blueprints actually get put to work.
All right, let's play a quick little matching game. I'm going to give you a few research scenarios from our source material, and you see if you can pick the right theoretical blueprint for the job. You ready?
Okay, scenario A, a study looking at how peer feedback during collaborative writing projects impacts students' grammar. If you guessed Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, you are absolutely right. The big clues here are peer interaction and collaboration. Those are pure Vygotsky, all about learning together in that zone of proximal development.
All right, scenario B, a researcher wants to know why university students' motivation to learn English seems to drop off over time. The perfect blueprint for this is definitely Dornier's L2 motivational self-system. This framework is all about how our motivation is tied to the vision we have of our future self, our ideal L2 self who can speak the language fluently. And last one, a study comparing students who get direct grammar lessons versus students who just learn by being exposed to simple language. This one practically screams Stephen Krashen's input hypothesis. His whole theory is that we acquire language best not by memorizing rules, but by understanding messages that are just a little bit beyond our current level. So when it's your turn, how do you find that perfect blueprint? It really boils down to these 5 essential steps. You gotta start with your core problem. Then, you survey the literature to see what theories other people have used, evaluate which one really fits your questions. Check that it aligns with your basic assumptions about the world. And then, and this is the part you can't skip, you have to clearly state your choice and justify exactly why it's the right one for your building. At the end of the day, your theoretical framework is what turns that messy pile of bricks into a coherent, powerful, and meaningful structure. It is the intellectual spine of your entire dissertation. So I'll leave you with this question. What blueprint are you going to use to build your big idea?